After several hiccups, the peace talks between the Pakistani government and the Taliban started on Thursday. The talks, aimed at charting a roadmap for negotiations, began by each side handing the other a wish list. The government set out 5 conditions, including ending hostilities. The Taliban team has agreed to discuss the conditions with its leadership. Thousands have been killed to date as Tehrik-e-Taliban, the Pakistani faction of the organization, started an insurgency to topple the government and enforce a harsh brand of Islam. And Nathan King is here on the set now with more on all of this.
That's right, Mike. And as these crucial peace talks between the Pakistani government and the Pakistani Taliban begin, there is news that the US may be responding to an Islamabad government request to hold off on drone strikes in the tribal areas of Pakistan while these negotiations play out. Remember, drone strikes are deeply unpopular in Pakistan, with many civilian deaths attributed to the attacks. And of course, a US drone strike was thought to be behind last year's death of a Pakistan Taliban leader.
Hakimullah Masood died after an apparent US drone strike last November, just as Pakistani Taliban and the government were moving towards talks. So perhaps it's not surprising the US may be responding to Islamabad's request to hold off on strikes now that talks between the two are underway. The US official line remains, however, that the reduction of use of armed drones is because of their success and the pullback of US forces in the region.
When it comes to core al-Qaeda in the AFPAC regions, there's no question that we've made significant progress against them, and because of that, we will, and because of, as I mentioned, the reduced need for force protection, the President said we would be able to reduce our need for unmanned strikes.
But any reduction in drone use may also be part of a long-term strategy. Last May, US President Barack Obama, while defending the use of drone attacks, recognized the hostility they provoke and promised to tighten guidelines. The killing of a US citizen by drone, Anwar al-Awlaki, in Yemen, also provoked a political outcry in the US. And in October of last year, research by the New American Foundation said that more than 300 civilians have been killed by US drone strikes in Pakistan, with over 2,700 militants killed. The halt in strikes may help the talks in Islamabad, which are seen as the last chance to end a 7-year insurgency, which has claimed tens of thousands of lives. The talks, however, opened on a note of optimism.
It was in very good atmosphere, very good environments, and a lot of hope, a lot of good intentions.
Both sides in the talks are still far apart, though, with the Taliban insisting upon the adoption of Islamic law in Pakistan as a precondition.
And here in the US, the White House's political opponents are being critical over tightening guidelines for the use of drones. Some Republicans say some terrorists plotting against the US remain free due to self-imposed red tape. The White House, however, has promised to move the US away from a war footing and has said the US will not be safer if people abroad believe we strike within their countries without regard for the consequences, Mike.
Let's talk about what's next.
Yeah, for these peace talks, I mean, you know, this is a 7-year insurgency, a very big deal indeed. If they fail, the Sharif government in Pakistan has pledged to do an all-out war, so everything's riding on this. And they seem very far apart. Remember, the Taliban want essentially one thing: Sharia law across the whole of Pakistan, not just the tribal areas. The Pakistani government said any negotiations have to happen within the current constitution of the country.
A long way to go on this one. All right, thanks so much, Nathan.